Hi guys, welcome to my Facebook Live with that lovely little intro of music. My new record, Silver Landings, just came out today, so we felt like that was sort of a fitting way to start off this chat and this hangout with all of you guys. It's the title track off the record. I know so many of you have submitted questions, so I want to just jump right into that so we can try to get to everyone's. To start it off, Larry Robbins. Hello, Larry. What's going on, man? He wants to know who's in your band for the tour. So we're actually going on tour. This guy, Taylor Goldsmith, who happens to be my husband. Taylor and his entire band, Dawes, if you don't know them, check them out. They're going to be coming and very graciously have agreed to be my band on the road, along with one of my best friends, Mike Viola, who co-wrote this whole record with Taylor and I, and he produced the album as well. So the six of us are going to be hitting the road in like a week and a half. I'm so excited. I haven't been on the road in 13 years. It's been a minute since I've sung live, so I'm really excited to get back to it. Lisa Ford wants to know, what would you say to your 15-year-old self? Ugh, I don't know if we have enough time, Lisa. I would say be patient, recognize the natural ebb and flow of life and a career, and not to get discouraged on the moments that feel particularly discouraging. There's a lesson in everything. Just try to be present and absorb it all and recognize that like it will be fruitful to use in the future, even if you don't expect that. Michael Bryant wants to know, one of my favorite tracks so far on the album, I'd Rather Lose, seems to be very influenced by the writing styles of Lindsey Buckingham and Christine McVie from Fleetwood Mac. Is that just coincidental, or did you draw inspiration from the band for that track? I think Fleetwood Mac was never far from our minds when we were making this record, right? Yeah, I mean, my big mandate for making this album was to record live to tape with the band. So Taylor and Mike and I would hop into the studio and we would play sort of the bare bones acoustic tracks of what the song was for the band and kind of together figure out what the arrangements were. And then we would jump into the studio. I'd go into my little ISO booth and we'd play the song a couple times. We'd run into the control room, listen back to takes, feel like, I guess, agree as an entire band, as an entity, whether or not we wanted to move on. But that song in particular was funny because I think we did at least one other version of it that was very rockin', right? Yeah. And it was so much fun. But in listening back to it a couple weeks later, we all kind of decided that wasn't the right vibe for the song. And when we went in to re-record it, we definitely had Fleetwood Mac in mind. Like, how would Fleetwood Mac in 2019 play this song? And there you go. Anna Beatrice, Pereira, I'm so sorry for my horrible mispronunciation of your name. How did you pick the name for the album, and what exactly does it mean? Love you and can't wait to listen to it. Thank you so much. Silver Landings to me was just this grounded idea of a silver lining actualized or earthbound. Not to get too woo-woo about it, but I'm a big believer in things happening for a reason, and this record and the life experience that it took to write it, and the sort of eradicating the fear and self-doubt and all of the work I sort of had to do personally in order to find my way back to music, all of that feels like a silver landing. So that's kind of where the record title came from. Julie Marshall, rather. Sorry, Julie. If you could choose someone to play you in a film of your life, who would it be and why? Who do you think?
I mean, you still got the goods.
I still got the goods for a couple more years. I could play myself. They could age me up and age me down. I'm used to that in real life, right?
True.
For work.
That's true. It'd be hard to find someone else to fill those shoes.
Could you think of anyone off the top of your head?
If I give you the wrong answer, it'd be a problem.
No, tell me. I'm more curious now for what your answer would be.
No, I don't know. I mean, it's true that you kind of. It's tough to say that about an actress.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when it's what you do for a living.
Totally. Why couldn't I have the part, Julie? I'm down.
Give her a shot.
Give me a shot. Put me in, coach. Andrea Althouse wants to know, you're having such great success in TV right now. How good does it feel to go back to your musical roots? Is it helpful that your character Rebecca has those musical roots? Absolutely. I can't discount the fact that Dan Fogelman did me the biggest favor in the world, one by hiring me and changing my life with This Is Us, but writing in this sort of musical backstory for my character put me in the studio almost immediately in the midst of season 1. I hadn't been in the studio in a long time. What was that?
I was trying to do the...
Oh, yeah. It put me back into the studio and kind of like opened me back up to the idea of music. Also seeing Taylor and Dawes play, for those of you out there who haven't seen them, haven't had the good fortune, they're such an electric live band, and you in particular are always having so much fun on stage. I remember very early on when we first started dating thinking, God, I'm so jealous. I want to do that. I want to be having fun like that. I know that feeling. So being around you guys and your influence and inspiration definitely pushed me towards wanting to make music again, just so I could try and keep up with you. I can't, but I'll try. Claudia wants to know, what's your favorite song off this record, and when did you feel the urge to return to music? Can't wait for the album. Thank you. Well, I kind of just answered that. I'd say over the last, I've been writing on and off since my last album in 2009, but I don't think the idea for this record really crystallized until last year. Last year, I think, is when I really dug my heels in and was like, this isn't just a song, it's not just an EP, this is a full record. And that was what we sort of had an eye towards in the writing process.
Yeah, but you didn't say what your favorite song was.
Oh, my favorite song. My favorite song, gosh, that's hard. I love Silver Landings, I love 15. It kind of changes.
Yeah.
Trying My Best Los Angeles is a fun one. Because it's pretty, I don't know, it's groovy, it's a bop, as the kids say, but it, I don't know, there's like a real sustenance underneath that. Like there's so many times, I'm a proud Angelino, but there's so many times that I've just sort of like looked up at the sky and shaken my fist like, you're really testing me, LA. And so I don't know, I have a real affinity for that song too. Michael Bryant wants to know, when going into the writing process and making an album, what are some of your inspirations? Did you know from the beginning what you want the album to be and sound like, or does it all come together at the end? The inspiration for this album, some of which I talked about, like the show and being around Taylor, but also just like living with someone like you, you're constantly noodling around on the guitar or playing the piano and singing, and there's always a record on. And that's really inspiring. I think for me, it was really just about my due diligence in dropping the bags when it came to my own issues around my musicianship and being an artist, and my questions of legitimacy and self-doubt creeping in. And, you know, when you've been away from something, even if you love it, when you've been away, you've had this sort of long absence, it's terrifying, the prospect of jumping back in and thinking, am I good enough? Was I good enough to begin with? Will I remember how to do this? Does it matter anymore? Does anyone even care? Do I care? So many questions sort of arose with the writing process. But once I realized it all started with me, just writing, just sitting in the seat and putting a pen to paper, and the rest would all figure itself out, then it started to flow. And having incredible collaborators like Taylor and Mike Viola by my side, knowing like we're in this together and we're going to figure out this musical journey together. I think the only mandate we had in terms of what the album, what I wanted it to sound like, was what I mentioned before, was sort of live, on the floor with the band. This record to me is a conduit for going on the road and for touring and performing live. So I wanted that to come across in this album, like, oh yeah, it sounds live. Sounds like they just, you know, recorded this together as a band. And I feel like it's kind of mission accomplished, right? Yeah. Jessica wants to know, what was your most memorable songwriting experience during the creation of the new album? The most memorable one? That's
There's all the
interesting.
days at Mike's house. There's all the Nashville stuff.
All the Nashville stuff. Yeah, I'd say probably like the bulk of this record was written, and I knew I had a week-long break from work in October, and I sort of for months had in the back of my mind, I want to go to Nashville. I want to write with Laurie McKenna, who's a dear old friend of mine and who I've written with for my last 2 albums. And lo and behold, we were lucky enough to get to do that and work with Laurie and work with Natalie Hemby, who's now a dear friend. So that was really memorable. It was like we went in with this idea of like, if we could write a song, maybe the last song on the album, that would be terrific. And we ended up writing 4 songs, 2 of which ended up on the album. So that was a pretty memorable experience. Bailey wants to know, which artists were your inspiration when writing and recording this album? Joni is the GOAT. Joni is on the pedestal always. Jackson Browne, Warren Zevon, Linda Ronstadt. I don't know, who else? Who are your inspirations? Who are some of your guitar inspirations? Knopfler,
Yeah,
always.
he was there.
The spirit was in you.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I mean, it was fun. Like a lot of acoustic stuff, which was fun. Which always makes me think of like those Gil and Dave records.
Yeah.
And that kind of guitar playing. And
Gillian
then,
Welch and Dave
yeah.
Rawlings, yeah.
And then, yeah, I mean, like I'd Rather Lose, like definitely some Knopfler vibes. But then
Yeah.
also the baritone stuff. There was some, I don't know, some new stuff from that. There was a little bit of Jerry on some stuff.
Oh,
But
bring in some Jerry in.
yeah.
Penny wants to know, out of your earlier songs, which most would you like to do a reimagined version of? Well, on this tour, we're definitely doing Candy, which is fun because you guys are incredible musicians, and honestly, any song sounds good with you guys playing it. I'm curious to hear how I Want to Be With You, or maybe Only Hope would sound. We played some songs off of Wild Hope in the last rehearsal, and that sounded really good, and sounded like slightly reimagined, like our own grooves, our own take on things, which
Full
is
band versions of stuff that
yeah,
people have bands.
exactly, full band versions of some songs off that record. So I don't know, stay tuned. You decide. What's your favorite track on each of your studio albums?
yeah.
Only one. Oh, Ryan.
Good question.
Ryan, I couldn't even name you all the studio albums. I think this is the 7th one.
Wow.
Let's see. The first one, I would really have to like pull up all of the records. I love I Want to Be With You. I love Candy and Walk Me Home. We were debating, Mike threw that one in the mix of like potentially trying to figure out a Walk Me Home. Feels weird to be singing that song as a 35-year-old woman. Some things don't translate now. I Have a Crush on You also feels a little like, I don't know. I'm a married lady. I feel like I'm beyond that. But I would say like Amanda Lee, my favorite song is probably Merrimack River. Wild Hope, probably Wild Hope. Oof. The rest of them, I couldn't even tell you all the songs. It's terrible. I'm really, I don't know, disassociated, I guess, from some of my stuff. I just haven't thought about it in a long time. Tabitha wants to know, what is your favorite springtime activity? I love hiking. I always love hiking. I feel like that is a year-round activity for me. But in the spring, obviously, with everything blooming, even better. Greg wants to know, I'm a big fan of both Mike and Taylor's songwriting. Yes. What's up, Greg? Explain the process of writing songs with them for this album. I feel like every song found its way out into the world differently, wouldn't you say? I mean, sometimes I would come in with like a very clear picture of like, this is what I want to write about today. Here's a phrase, or here's just a general idea. I want to write a a Joni off of Hijira sounding bass line, or I think you come with like different ideas, and obviously getting two other brains and hearts on board can be a task, but that's the fun of songwriting, especially collaborating with people that you know and love, is figuring out like, oh, how can we all take this ride together today, and ultimately create something that we all stand behind and we're proud of and accomplishes exactly what we set out to do. Do you?
Yeah, and I mean, and Mike has such an amazing radar for making sure that nothing is. We never just go down any well-worn paths.
Yeah.
He always felt like he was making sure nothing ever was the usual move.
Yeah.
He's really good at that.
Yeah. You both are really good at that. Yeah. What song on Silver Landings is closest to your heart? I would say a song like 15 is probably closest to my heart, because it is a love letter to my younger self, kind of making peace with the fact that I have lived in embarrassment of some of the choices that I made at that age, and I no longer feel that way. I have so much affection and understanding for her, for that 15-year-old, and I carry her around with me, and I love her, and I'm ultimately really appreciative to all she brought me, because I'm sitting here today because of her. Lindsay wants to know, if you weren't the amazingly successful actress, singer, and songwriter, thank you, you are today, what would you be doing instead? Good question, Lindsay. Probably not much. I don't know. I was one of those folks that like never really had a plan B. It's
Rescuing kittens.
I'd be rescuing cats and dogs and hiking a lot and traveling. I don't know. Those are like my top 3 favorite things. Animals, hiking, and traveling. Something in that world. Name one song that you have on repeat on Spotify, from Renee. That I have on repeat right now. I'm listening to our buddy Ethan Greska's record a lot. Did I say his last name right? Greska?
Mm-hmm.
Greska? Ethan Greska? Listening to his new record. I love Phoebe Bridgers' new song as well. I don't know. What are you listening to right now, Taylor?
I don't really. What was I listening to?
You're listening to a lot of Dead right now. I know that.
Yeah, a lot of Dead.
I'm listening to a lot of Dead, consequently.
Yeah. Pink Floyd, Animals. I was listening to that.
Yeah.
But those songs are like, it's hard to put a 17-minute song on repeat.
Totally. You've had enough when it ends.
Yeah.
Is that it? That's it. Awesome. Okay.
All
Hey
right.
guys, thanks for all the really thoughtful questions. You're pretty stellar. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the support and the love. And to those of you out there watching, thank you so much.